In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Ritz Furniture specializes in quality furniture for affordable prices. Our extensive inventory highlights top brands and provides everything you could ever want. You can count on us for kitchen, dining, bedroom, and living room furniture, no matter what the style is you have in mind. Stop in with your family and look at our amazing selection to find the perfect fit for your home. Contact us today to see how we can make a difference in your home.
Welcome into Inside Smoky Mountain Conference, presented by Team FYN Sports. Jake West, Brandon Stevens. Brandon, we are staring down the barrel of another loaded week of Smoky Mountain Conference games, but let's kick off the show like we have been this year with our winners and losers of the week before we delve into, picking these games apart. Brandon, who's your winner of the week coming back from week 3?
Coming back this week, I have to say that it's Murphy Bulldogs. Wasn't the prettiest win. I think people leaving the stadium at West Henderson in that 36-33 football game. For Murphy coming in, as far as what Max Preps says, one of the more highly rated football teams, and plus they were packed with Zane McCraw, Cade Young, the quarterback, and then you had a really tall tight end, Tyler Nash was his name, and they had all the tools, good front line, and battling back from a lot of miscues, mistakes, fumbles, penalties in the first half, and made it, made back up not only a 12-point deficit, but then won by a few points. That was pretty good to battle back. That was my winner of the week.
For me, I went to Valleytown, watched the Wildcats and the Yellow Jackets take the field. Obviously, that game did not go as predicted on the show or predicted by the Citizen Times or any of the other publications with the Wildcats getting a 7-2 win. But, the Wildcats are a winner, but I think the biggest winner of the week is a member of the Wildcats football team. That's LaDainian Rattler. Rattler, in a game that was not very exciting, Rattler brought the excitement. He had the lone touchdown for the Wildcats. He also, with a rushing touchdown won the football game for him as they won 7-2. Also defensively, he had a huge impact. I'm not exactly sure how many total tackles he had, but I do know that he had, I think, a forced fumble and 2 fumble recoveries and an interception. So 2 fumble recoveries, a forced fumble, and an interception on the defensive side of the ball. So anywhere that Hayesville was looking on Friday night as they were trying to move the ball and find the end zone for the first time, which the Andrews defense never allowed. Everywhere they were looking, number 5 seemed to be right there. So I think LaDainian Rattler, huge coming out party for that kid. Of course, on Andrews, you had the regulars, Tatham and Aguilar and some of the others who played well. Colton Rose, Jerry Cable, I think had a sack. Some of the other guys on that defensive front played really, really well. Brady McClellan, he's a sophomore. He played well. I was trying to think someone else. There was someone else that I wanted to touch on that offensive and defensive line. Let me see if I can pull up the roster really quick. Um, Braden Gaither, number 75, a sophomore, huge kid. He had a direct impact on that game as well. So, I mean, the Andrews defensive front was really, really impressive. I think Trey Graves, one of the top running backs in the conference, and they stifled him. I mean, they held, and this is just getting into the game, but they held Hayesville to 66 rush yards and 51 pass yards, so 110, 117 freaking total yards.
Wow.
A stifling defensive effort from Andrews against Hayesville. And let's talk about that game. Obviously,
one thing I just want to point out, the thing I like about Rattler and how you choosing him for the big winner. What I like is that of many players that, and we could probably list out somebody from all 6 schools, but what I like is his efficiency. And have you looked at that? He doesn't have as many touches and he doesn't have as many carries, but what he gets is choice. It's 11 carries so far, according to Max Preps, and that's averaging out to be about 8 or 9 yards per carry. So when you're getting that few carries and you're making that impact, that says something.
Sure. And even when the ball is not supposed to be in his hands on the defensive side of the ball, he finds a way to, put a hat on the ball or, intercept it, force a fumble recovery, something like that. But obviously, we're eating crow this week as far as that game is concerned. Thought Hayesville was going to be, just I thought Hayesville was just going to out athlete Andrews, and with Roberts and Graves and some of those guys, they were going to be able to, just more speed than Andrews. But clearly that wasn't the case. What was your biggest takeaway from the Andrews-Hayesville game? 7-2 victory for the Wildcats.
Well, one, good stamina, and like you say, some good play. Either way, I think there's a theme that's breaking down, or it's coming to light for me, and it's who can play some good smash mouth football. That's part of my article this week, and I think when you can get into that and you can bring back what made the Smoky Mountain Conference great that it is, it's the tough, tenacious, bust you in the mouth type play, and if you can see some of that, and it's beginning to emerge with the Andrews Wildcats, they're a tough little team. I do have a question though, and somebody did bring it to light, but it's 8 more weeks from now, we get to see a replay of this game. And will it be different? It's going to be played in Hayesville.
I think they're both in Andrews. Both games are in Andrews.
Okay. Schedule says Hayesville, but I'll go with you though. On that side, will it be different? I mean, obviously you've got some time through the season to work. You could have injuries. You could get better. You could lose a player. But for that, if we were to advance and play it again, would it be a little different? And could it make impact? And of course, I think this game doesn't make impact to the conference schedule yet, because you've got to cross back into October. Play the Swain, the Cherokee, the Robbinsville, the Murphy, and then the Hayesville game. But I haven't really seen this since like the 80s, when we would see when there weren't really enough teams to go around, and you would recycle your conference opponents. You would see a Silva Webster, you would see a Rosman, you would see somebody like that come up in your schedule a couple of times. But I'm anxious to see what happens coming up in first week of November between these two teams.
Yeah, it's fun to see that they're going to get a chance, to replay this game. I'm sure Hayesville wants another chance. And I'm sure Andrews wants another chance, to completely silence everyone. There was a point in that game where Andrews, the snap, they're fixing to punt it away and inside, back against the wall inside their own 20. Fixing to punt it away. Snap flies over Aguilar's head. It's a safety. Hayesville sideline starts thinking, this is their chance, but still just slow and steady. The Andrews defensive front comes out and just allows nothing. I mean, a very, very impressive defensive performance. And I mean, you asked me, would this game be different? And I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will be 7-2 in November. But will it be different? I don't know. Hayesville's got a lot to work on. Talking about Hayesville for a minute, an interception. Let's see how many fumbles they had. They might have had 4. Oh, they didn't enter their fumbles on Max Preps, but I think they had 4 fumbles. I think they had 5 turnovers. Not counting the turnovers on downs that they had. Let's see if Andrews had 4 fumble recoveries. That means Hayesville had 4 fumbles. So 5 turnovers, not counting the turnovers on downs that they had. Hayesville's offense looked. I mean, there was no offense basically for both teams, but Andrews was able, to at least look a little more lively. They had 150 yards on the ground, 20 yards through the air. Tatham hit a big pass in the fourth quarter across the middle to move the chains. I think on the scoring drive, if my brain serves me correctly, a 20-yard pass to Aguilar. And while both these teams they need better production from their quarterback. 1 for 3 for Tatham, 4 for 12 for Roberts with an interception. Tatham stepped up and completed that pass when he needed to move the chains and to get the Cats in scoring position. So I think it's just and in our interview with Coach Phillips after the game, he said a lot of kids just stepped up and did what they were supposed to do, and I think that's what happened. I mean, Rattler stepped up. The defensive line stepped up. Tatham stepped up when he needed to. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say, they are the most fun football team to watch, but it goes back to what you said, the old ground and pound, smash mouth, Smoky Mountain Conference football. And they are OG Smoky Mountain Conference football. We're going to, stack the box, stop you, make sure that you can't run between the tackles, and they absolutely pummeled Hayesville up front Friday night. And when we talk about what Andrews, maybe some years in the past they've had really good skill players or this and that, but their line has always struggled. I think their line right now is maybe as good as it's been ever. At least that's the way it looked Friday night. It was. I mean, they were getting good penetration, and it seemed like every time Hayesville's offense came out on the field, it was 3 and out. So,
and I think probably Hayesville's searching to get some things dialed in, because obviously your quarterback Roberts haven't thrown a whole lot with him, about 20 times this season, maybe, and coming out of that, we're not seeing the passing game. Let's just not call it where it goes, but it's just we're calling anybody out. It's just that the passing game is not going. And then of course Graves is your big time rusher for about 150 yards over a couple of games. That's got to, you've got to know that you're eyeballing. One of the keys to this team is 6, and the rest, we're making up in time. So yeah, as you're right, I think Hayesville's got some work to do. And probably coming out in, even though it's a non-conference game, or it'll be listed as a non-conference game this past Friday night, you still have to play it like you're playing for the conference championship when you face a Smoky Mountain Conference team. But this week, when you go and take on the Pisgah Bears, that's going to be a little bit different for Hayesville.
Yeah, and let's talk about that game. We'll talk about Hayesville's game against Pisgah, and then Andrew's game against Mitchell. But what do you see coming up Friday night? Hayesville, I think they're a huge. I wrote down the computer projections. Hold on, I'll tell you. Pisgah is a 33.5 point favorite against Hayesville coming up, and that's probably. I mean, the way that through 2 games, the way Hayesville's looked, the way Pisgah's looked, that's probably. I mean, can't blame the computer for pulling statistics and finding that number.
Yeah, I think a couple of different things. If you've got a lot of teams that we're seeing, whether it's in the Smoky Mountain Conference or out of the Smoky Mountain Conference, maybe in our discussions today and this evening, we're probably going to not talk about too many one single all-stars. And I don't think Pisgah falls into that category. Now, Smoky Mountain's going to be a little different when we get to talking about the Smoky Mountain Murphy game, because they do have a singular star. But the offense for Pisgah is a mosaic of different contributions, from Lowry to Mahaffey to Pope to just different folks. And they've got a decent quarterback. We got to watch them in a 7-on-7 workout that Pisgah hosted in the middle of the summer, but I could totally agree that this is going to be probably a 30-point game for Pisgah Bears, and just depending on how you can line up, you're probably right. I'd probably be willing to say 28-7 Pisgah.
Yeah, I just think, until we see some semblance of an offense from Hayesville, it's going to be tough sledding from them. And I do think they have the athletes to make some noise. I mean, I thought they were going to be the sleeper in the Smoky Mountain Conference, but maybe that the tide has shifted, and that the sleeper in the Smoky Mountain Conference is Andrews. Andrews travels to Mitchell on Friday night, a game that has gone, flip-flop back and forth for the past few years. Where do you see Coach Phillips and his squad faring in that one?
Well, a couple things. Mitchell, traditionally, whoever, if it's usually you meet up with Mitchell in the state playoffs, and there's a couple things. That's usually you meet them kind of late. You're heading either into the regionals or the regional finals to get to the state. There's always a Pittman on the team that's really good that plays, and taking that long drive to Ledger, North Carolina, there's no easy way to get there. It's a pig pass to get there. And that's kind of their appeal, it's like, all right, you got to come play at our house. And it's really nice stadium. It's cool. It kind of reminds you of like a little small Western Carolina University stadium. But it's like, man, I'm exhausted taking this little pig pass getting to Ledger, North Carolina. But anyhow, let's go past that for a moment. They have they're a decent team. Like I say, there's not one probably one player. There's a Riddle sophomore kid, Riddle, forgetting his first name, but he's the one he and Pittman are the rushing leaders. This is going to be to me, I think it's probably going to be a mixture of ground and rush, because they go back and forth. A lot of passes so far in 3 games. Their quarterback Cook, he's thrown the ball probably 600 times. So you're looking at breaking that down. It's going to be a lot of passes. I'm sorry, not 600 times. He's got 600 yards almost, but 60 passes. Let me get my numbers straight. So you're looking at least 20 passes a game. The difference here is that I'm going to step out here and say this, that and this will sound bad, and don't mean it to intend it to sound bad, but I just don't see the level of competition normally that you would see. Mountain Heritage, Charlotte Latin, that was a big game for them. But then coming on through, they played McDowell County. In McDowell County, they are not the Titans that they used to be. So I think that probably judging from them, this is an opportunity for you to stretch your wings and go and play. When you're on the road, it's a tougher team, and for Andrews, this could be a good breakout game if you win this game. It's going to, I think, probably. If you take some of the vim, some of the confidence, some of the work, and take it to Ledger with you, this could be a closer game.
Sure, I agree. I think a win against Mitchell, and no matter what year it is always good, and it's always a confidence boost when you head into conference play to know that you beat one of the top teams historically in 1A football. But like you said, this could help Andrews put everyone on notice. I still think that Hayesville was a good team. I still think that Andrews beat a good team on Friday night, but maybe not everyone bought into the Hayesville hype, and they just think Andrews got squeaked by a 7-2 win over the same old Hayesville. But people will not think that if they're able to go to Mitchell County and get a victory over the Mountaineers on Friday night. The computer. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was getting ready. I was getting ready to, before the computer spat out its numbers. I'd probably be willing to say this could be just simply because it's a home game. It's not easy to get there. This is a good. This is a better team on the roster for Andrews. I mean, Rosman struggling this year. Hayesville needs to do a little bit of work. Mitchell's a step up, but I'm going to say 21-14, and that's favor of Mitchell.
I do think this is going to be a very close game. The computer says Mitchell favored by 13.5, so nearly 2 touchdowns. I think this is going to be a very close football game. What did you say? The biggest thing for me, if Andrews is going to be able to win this football game, what did you say? You talked about the passing numbers for Mitchell.
That's right. I think it's you really. I hate to use these old cliches like it's RPO. They can run, they can pass, they can option, but that's been kind of their beauty. But I think they traditionally Mitchell has been one of these teams that can be linear, and what I mean by that is quarterback likes to call his own number, or they go to one specific rusher, or it's always to one receiver. But they have success with it. I mean, this is like it's that old phrase I keep saying over and over and over: feed the pig, and they do that, and they do it well, and they get production from it. So Pittman, number 2, he's going to be your leading rusher. And then there are a couple of others. Flores, they've got a couple of other people they like to go to the air with. So it's really either or. I mean, it'll keep Andrews on its toes, and the bandwidth. You're going to really see the effective bandwidth of what Andrews has when they play this team.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the only reason that I think this game may favor Mitchell is simply because I don't know if Andrews' defensive backs have been tested yet. Well, I know they haven't. They weren't really tested against Hayesville. They weren't tested against Rosman. But it sounds like Mitchell is able to efficiently, move the ball through the air. And I know Andrews has just from what I saw on Friday night, Andrews has the defensive front to compete with everyone. But I just a takeaway from a 7-2 football game. I don't know if they have the offense to score, and win a 35-28 football game. Not saying that's what this one is going to be, but normally with teams that move the ball through the air, like you saw with West Henderson last week against Murphy, they moved the ball through the air. They scored a lot of points, made Murphy have to score a lot of points to come away with a victory there. So I think this is a very good test for Andrews and a very good test for Mitchell as well. 2 good football teams, hard-nosed football teams that are going in. I think after talking with Coach Phillips on Friday night, I think that he's very confident in his team and in the fact that they're going to get a win on Friday night. And so I'm going to go lower scoring, 17-14. I think Andrews has a freshman kicker. I think he's going to hit game-winning field goal at the end. Andrews goes to Mitchell at the risk of eating crow again, saying that Andrews is going to lose. I'm going to say Andrews gets a 17-14 victory against Mitchell, and this could really set their season off on a really, really good trajectory if they're able to get this win versus.
So I want to address something right fast. Jake, we put a lot of work into doing some research. We do we watch film, we look at stats, we talk to coaches, we talk to players, and we try to mix up into the stew pot every week what we kind of feel like is going to happen. So it's interesting when you go out into town, whether you're in Murphy, Andrews, Bryson City, Hayesville, someplace like that, and a player comes up to you and says, well, you picked the opponent of my team to win by 3 touchdowns, and look what happened. I mean, so I got that. I got that in West Henderson with Murphy, and a couple of players come up and says, "How many touchdowns was West Henderson supposed to beat us by?" And I'll say this really to all the fans and all the people who watch this show. Deep down, I'm a Smoky Mountain Conference guy. I want every team to win and be successful and hang the banner. But my retort to the players like, well, are you glad that I'm eating crow this week?
Yeah. Very true. Very true. I know you got an interview with Sherman Holt. They won't spend too much time talking about this, but Franklin with the 3-0 sweep over the Smoky Mountain Conference, beating Murphy, Robbinsville, Swain in back-to-back weeks. Swain County is pretty banged up. Let's hear from Sherman Holt before we talk about their game coming up against Tuscola.
Coach, you got another big one this week. I'm assuming that Tuscola is going to have chip on their shoulder from the loss they suffered to you last year, but what are you thinking about for this week?
Just got to be focused this week and, got to come ready to work and have a good week of practice, good week of preparation, and not that we've not had that. We've just, playing some young kids due to injury and, just trying to get them more comfortable in the system and get them used to playing under the lights on Friday. And so just trying to simplify and get kids ready to play and be able to play fast and react at a high level. And so just, focus on the things that we can control and get better at tackling, get better at staying on blocks, get better at, holding on to the football or executing in the kicking game, special teams wise. So just trying to get better and, stay positive, stay on track as far as, nobody ever wants to be their best week 1, week 2, week 3, but if you get better every week, that's our goal. And so just trying to have a good week and get ready for a pretty good Tuscola football team. They do a lot of things that, challenge you defensively, the way they run their offense. They spread you out, they motion, they shift, a lot of different formations, different personnel. And so that's going to be tough for our kids this week. Very important to stay focused and study tape and get in the scouting report. And so for us, just focus on ourselves, get better, and get some things cleaned up that's kind of been hurting us, a little bit every week. The good thing is we've done pretty well in the penalty game. We've not penalized ourselves a lot, so that's good. Ball security, we had one fumble Friday night, so we want to clean that up. You always want to take care of the football. And so for us, it's just focus on us, focus on our current opponent, and get better each week.
Well, good luck this week, and go Maroon Devils.
Go Devils.
Always good to hear from Coach Holt. Swain, he said it. Everybody in Bryson City is saying it. They're struggling right now. 0-3 out of the gate. I haven't seen, your quarterback goes down, maybe out for the year. You've got your leading wide receiver down. You got everybody else seems to have a sprained ankle. Doesn't seem like they have anybody healthy out there right now. But like he said, the goal is not to win games in September. It's to win games, in October, November. So what do you think coming up this Friday night, Swain and Tuscola?
All right. Just first, you're touching on the injuries. There's like 4 major injuries that this team has. And I'm not going to go through the individuals, but what it's leading to, Jake, is that you've really stirred the pot, and there's a lot of people playing in different positions. And Keontae Graham is one that, he's got a hand injury, and pretty much he was the leading receiver. Now he's playing defense, and that's the sole focus. So somebody's going to have to step the next man up. And that's the key here, is that you've got Owen Medlin not doing too bad, hitting about 500 on his passes, but once again, didn't take too many passes because it's a little different once you practice. And then once Friday night comes and you can smell the popcorn and the lights are on and the fans and the band, and now you're taking the snap, or now you're getting the handoff, or you're getting the pass. And you're a younger guy who hasn't been there. You've just been watching the senior leadership, the junior leadership ahead of you. So I think that's a large portion of going into what's happening with this team. But still, Glaspie still doing pretty well. I mean, but here's the big key for Swain County to keep moving, and I think it's what Coach Holt was talking about a little earlier, is that you got to play with grit. One, you got to take care of the ball. There were interception, fumbles, little things that messed up, but oh man, the Tuscola game, that's going to be in Bryson City. Good for Swain County, because you don't want to go to CE Weatherby Stadium and play that one again. Tuscola, they're ticked off from last year. That was one where the titanical Tuscola Mountaineers are going to come in and crush the Maroon Machine, and Maroon Machine escaped with a win, and it was something to crow about. So I know that there are still players that are going to come back in for that, and Coach Crompton is wanting to redeem themselves from that. But man, this is a good passing team. They've got Bartley. He'll sling it, and he'll make it happen. So far, about 200 yards a game. So I mean, if you're rifling it out there and you're putting that on your tally, the defensive secondary for Swain, which again, this is not the fastest Swain team that we've seen, but you better be ready and you better be in position. So it's a question of like, are you manning up? Are you zoning up? I mean, how are you gonna watch Bartley pass? And then the rushing, it's kind of made up between a couple different players. That there's again no one true big star that's coming through and getting 300 yards a game and 4 touchdowns. The rushing game, actually, it's almost like this team flip flops it around. But of course, look at their coach. He was a passing quarterback at Tennessee, and when he was at Tuscola several years ago. So yeah, it stands to reason you're going to develop that passing game. So be ready for the pass. Whether it's a screen pass, bubble, slip screen, something. They're going to make that happen. But I think time to time, Bartley has been able to bang it out there and get the 40 to 60 yard pass plays. So this is going to be a dangerous team and to watch out for. On the other hand, there's a number. There's not one person that I've probably seen. There's about 3 or 4 good receivers. So one, who's it going to be? It's not like we're sending it to the same receiver every time. So there's diversity, there's ability, and plus this line's pretty good. One of the reasons you're getting the yards that you're doing is because you're protected.
13.5-point favorites for Tuscola coming to Bryson City. What do you think? How's it going to play out? What's the final score?
21-7 Tuscola.
I think it may be a little more, 35-7. I just don't know if the defensive secondary is going to be there. And like you said, Tuscola's going to come into this game pretty ticked off after what happened last year. So I think we could see them try to run the score up as much as they can, especially in Bryson City.
I think primarily, if you're I think the secondary is going to have to really watch, but it's also going to be the big guys in the trenches, the Nsays, the Grady Lewises, that type of player that's going to have to come in and play. And this is kind of my notes. There again, multiple formations. They're going to keep everybody on, just moving about. But I think that your big guys are going to have to break through and hurry Bartley if you have any luck at all. And so hopefully in the stats next week, you're going to see some hurried quarterback stats.
Sure. Let's go switch gears. Talk about Robbinsville and Mountain Heritage. Mountain Heritage and Robbinsville, that was a game that was closer than at least the Citizen Times projected. 28-13, Mountain Heritage with the victory. I think it was very, very close right until the end of the first half, and then Mountain Heritage scored going into halftime and then scored in the fourth quarter. But no stats for Robbinsville in this one. but you do see that Brandon Quinn and the Cougars are as advertised. Quinn, 21 carries, 278 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 completions, 7 attempts, 17 yards through the air. So they didn't even really mix it up. It was just, quarterback calling his own number, every single time they were out there. But another thing that I thought was just from looking at the statistics, 10 tackles for loss, 7 hurries, and 3 sacks for the Mountain Heritage defensive front. And that's not something I would have suspected given the talent that is on the Robbinsville offensive line. But Robbinsville hosting Copper Basin this week. Copper Basin, just new coach, just getting some new players out there on the field. Trying to rebuild what they had 4 or 5 years ago. Not the toughest team in the world. It's a good game for Robbinsville to get back on track. They're 42.5-point favorites, which I don't think they're going to win 48-0 or anything like that. Maybe 35-7, something like that. But it's a good game for Robbinsville to figure out and gain confidence and think, we do have the athletes. We can compete, and then get back geared up, ready for the following week after Copper Basin.
Well, in the next couple of games, Robbinsville could break the streak. I think they've had all the tools that they've needed, but when you talk to a couple of the players, you talk to some old time fans who carried the pigskin for the Black Knights. Probably one of the things that Robbinsville needs to work on or improve the most is probably the line play. Just getting some protection, getting some penetration into the backfield, that sort of thing. But you played some tough teams. And if your line isn't quite strong enough now, I respond to them as that try to stop East Surrey, try to stop Franklin. Alone Braden Hervey from Franklin, and then Mountain Heritage, like you say, Brandon Quinn. Now that was one of the teams that has the superstar, the single guy. If you can hurry him or he gets injured, or it takes a lot of wind out of the Mountain Heritage sails. But I think everything is going to fall into place now. Copper Basin is not one of the strongest teams in the world. In fact, when you look at who they've played, they too are also 0-3. But to Polk County, Tennessee, Grace Baptist Academy, and I don't know what South Pittsburgh is looking like this year. I know that a couple of years ago, when you go face them, there's always these legendary tales of South Pittsburgh being the best team in Tennessee. But both or all of these, you've almost had like 40-point losses. So doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at this. And I'll jump ahead and spin the tape a little bit, Jake, and say this: it's probably going to be at least I'll say Copper Basin may get on the board, but easily this could be a Robbinsville 42-3 football game.
Yeah, like I said, it's a good get right game for Robbinsville, and before they play Tryon the week after this. A very good Tryon football team from Georgia, and they're on the road that week, so they need this because they are. I mean, that's a Tryon game that they could. It's going to be a tough game to win, so they need this one to kind of right the ship and go into that game with some confidence. But speaking of confidence, the Battle of the Nations played last week. Choctaw came in with some confidence to Cherokee and came away with the victory. Cherokee, I think, they did see some good things offensively. Saylor was 10 for 20, 139 yards, no interceptions. They found Luke Smith was able to, he just had a couple of carries, but he was able to break free a couple of times, averaged 21 yards on the ground. And then Smith, 4 catches, 80 yards. Garcia, 4 catches, 50 yards. Their biggest thing was Saylor, when he dropped back to pass, tried to run around, scramble, make some things happen. He fumbled the ball 4 times, and they lost 3 of those. And it's hard to win a football game when you turn the ball over that many times. But defensively, they look good. They had 3 interceptions. Their defensive secondary looked good. They had a fumble recovery, a blocked field goal. So it sounds like this game had a little bit of everything in it, Brandon.
This the overlying theme. I think if you're Coach Tim Hawkins, you got to look at this and say, men, you got to get the Braves all in a huddle and say, men, take care of the ball, because if you can do that and eliminate the turnovers and the fumbles, then this turns into a different ball game, because Jake, this is a much improved team from last year. Again, you're not looking to one particular person like Driver last year. You're looking to, like you say, Brandon Santiago. You're looking to Luke Smith, and Luke Smith, in my opinion, is probably he's like the best, one of the best players on the team. And I could easily probably say he's and the reason I say that is because of utility. He catches, he rushes, and he's been part team leader. But I think that in this Smith, Saylor, Santiago, a couple of others, Lineberry, they're doing the whole mix of them. They've got all the tools that you need to win football games and do it well. Take care of the doggone football team, Braves, and I think you would probably had a different football game. And I was asking. And Coach Hawkins is saying, all right, well, if I can, get them to take care of the football, play with more enthusiasm, keep them healthy. Maybe coming up in a couple of weeks, Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians will have the Cherokee Indian Fair, and about half the team goes and plays stickball. Now, if you've ever seen stickball, that can be a little rough. And you don't come out, and sometimes you don't come out of those stickball games medicine cabinet hurt. You can have some serious injuries. So it's like he's warning his team, like, look, if you don't have to play that sport, let's stay healthy and stay in a Braves uniform. But that's a big part of the heritage here in Cherokee, though. But I think that the going into talking with Coach Hawkins, it's a solemn trip. That's going to be made. It was going to be made to Rosman, but the venue has changed to Cherokee. And one of the things that we haven't talked about through this program has been Hurricane Francine, the weather that's going to be dumped there. There's some football games that have been switched from Friday night to Thursday night. Switching from location. Okay, we're supposed to play at my place, but it's grass, and we're going to go over and play at your place, which is turf, and we're going to shift the game from 7:30 to 6:30. So there's all kinds of different things going on in play. This one has changed from Rosman to Cherokee, just specifically for weather, and so you can continue to play. We're not expecting to see like a monsoon dump of rain, but it's probably going to be there according to the forecasters. But this one, Coach Hawkins like, what? It's solemn, because one, Rosman has lost its quarterback to the accident. They're always looking to redevelop, and he was saying, the Coach Allen, in my opinion, is turning the team around. You're trying to make some strides, and then the accident happens, and then so it's going to be a weird night. But this one probably looking at this one, it could easily be like a 28-35 to 7 football game Cherokee. This could be one that I think Cherokee could really exercise its bandwidth and see how it does.
Yeah, I agree. This could be once again a get right game for Cherokee. But talking about Rosman, been thinking about them a lot and everything that their community has had to go through this year with the loss of their 2 players. I know they've been on everyone in the conference heart and minds. I know they're not Smoky Mountain Conference team anymore, but everyone always keeps tabs on those that have left the Smoky Mountain Conference, and Rosman being one of those teams. A lot of connections too. People from here move there, from there move here. Just terrible, and our thoughts and prayers are still with them as their kids and their staff and the families are still recovering from everything that happened over there. But as far as football is concerned, that's one chance to kind of get your mind off of everything. No matter what happens on Friday nights, at least you're doing something that you love and that those kids love. So, like you said, game played in Cherokee. I think it could be a good chance for Cherokee to get back on the right track. I like what you said. 35-7, somewhere around there. I think it's a good chance for them to move the ball through the air, get their quarterback some confidence, and figure out how to hold on to the pill, hold on to the football a little bit in pressure situations. So, if it does rain Friday night, that gives you a really good chance. Okay, this thing's slippery. I really need to keep my mind on holding on to this football. But I do think Cherokee comes away with a victory here.
You said something. It just made me think. Like, are we getting ready to play a bocce game with a pill? Hey, now one thing I just wanted to add real quickly for Rosman. Yeah, keep Rosman in your thoughts and prayers. And it's almost like I think I was talking to you about this earlier, that you watch a movie or you relate to some things like We Are Marshall. I think the coaches in the beginning of that movie are sitting here, it's like winning is everything, and we've got to go crush our opponents. But toward the end, when they're talking about it, it's like, no, it's the fact that we are here playing the game, and I think that's especially important for a team like Rosman to. Man, just keep the orange showing out there and keep showing up. And anytime you've been in the Smoky Mountain Conference House, you're always family.
Moving on, Murphy and Smoky Mountain. I think it's the last game we've got to talk about. Smoky Mountain, much improved football team this year. Murphy seems to be getting back on the right track. This game's been moved up to 6:30 in Silva. Mustangs bring a lot of firepower to the table, but Murphy comes away with a good win against West Henderson last week. Still a lot of things to improve on, but what do you see on Friday night between the Mustangs and the Dogs?
Okay, a couple of well, number one, the big thing that you hear about Smoky Mountain is the fact that, well, they're 2-1, and they have Aiden Johnson. They've got Jarek Jones, the quarterback. Those are the two big people that you hear constantly. And of course, they're posting the numbers. Either if it's not Aiden Johnson getting 200 yards approximately. The only exception was this past week. It was not so good of a game with T.C. Robertson. T.C. Robertson, I wasn't. I thought they were going to have a down year because they played Robbinsville in a preseason scrimmage over at AC Reynolds. Watched them a bit, and Robbinsville was outscoring TC Robertson and doing a lot better. So I thought maybe this might be a down year for TC, but coming in and playing, and maybe it's an off night for Smoky Mountain. But when you have good quarterbacking abilities, this Jones has thrown the ball at least 20 to 25 times this season, getting about an 80% completion rate. He's hitting his guys. Malachi McNeely. This is a triple threat type team. You'll see a lot of counters. You'll see a lot of jet sweeps. Specifically, Aiden Johnson is just a big good guy. I mean, 5'11", 205 pounds. His dad was an awesome runner back in the day when I was broadcasting Smoky Mountain football, Michael Johnson. So he's got it in the genes. He's moving on, and this is going to – so the key here is watch Aiden Johnson. And the other one is backing up behind him is going to be Malachi McNeely, who his brother played not too long ago, Isaiah McNeely. So this year, Smoky Mountain, different. They have a new coach. They have a new look. JT Postel has changed some things around, and it's working. The lead receivers probably going to be Jace Stillwell. He's a senior this year. He contributed last year, but much improved. So you might even see a tight end pass, maybe not. Eli Snyder, who's younger, sophomore, but this team is big up front. The problem that you probably saw last year with Smoky Mountain, specifically against that TC Robertson team, was that the front lines, when they'd come up, once the ball was snapped, they would stand up, and that's just kind of a no-no. You got to stay lower than your opponent. But this one is a little more disciplined, and they're giving good protection to Jones and to Johnson, obviously, because they're making the moves, and over about 2 or 3 games, Johnson's amassed. He's in between 400 and 500 yards, and several touchdowns. So at least 5 touchdowns that this kid has ran. So really, like I say, backing up. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but Aiden Johnson, he's the key. And from time to time, Jarek Jones is going to call his own number. So those are the 2 big players. But for people like Murphy, the guys in the trenches, the Landon Lapes, the Janthony Goodens, the Charlie Graves, on down the line, they're going to have to do some work, and they have to get back in and hurry the quarterback on this one. Be careful, your guys in the periphery, the Will Shores, the Kenyon Nichols, the Cadence Leatherwoods. You're going to have to watch the pass. So RPO, Smoky Mountain High School. This one's going to be played in Silva. A couple things. This game's been moved up to 6:30. Besides Hurricane Francine or Tropical Storm Francine coming through, maybe dumping a little rain on us on Friday night, this one's moved up because it's homecoming. They've chosen the Murphy game to crown the homecoming queen, and so a little bit longer activities at halftime. But then they're also trying to avoid some weather. This is turf. They've had a good, really great turf field. It's a little hard, but it's there. So this one could be if Murphy in the West Henderson game, too many mistakes, Jake. That first half, you come through, you get the 14-0 lead, then going into halftime. I'm sorry, 20 the 15-0 lead. But then when you look at the clock at halftime, you're down 12 points, and that's fumbles, miscues, 2 big fumbles that turn things around. Can't do that, especially against this team, a team that's looking. Smoky Mountain and Murphy, they've played since being Smoky Mountain. It's been a 17-2 series win for the Murphy Bulldogs, and it's been 17 seasons over the last 30 years that Murphy has defeated Smoky Mountain, whether it's been in Silva or Murphy. So Smoky Mountain's come a long time and saying it's time to beat this team. So they're going to be bringing their A game, and you've got to take care of the ball. That's the big thing. Plus, Murphy is going to be moving some people back into the lineup that haven't been there. Jonah Hedden's back. You'll see Camden Brazil come back. Both these guys were cleared this week. So health is coming back. Some things that they're trying to correct in Murphy to play a team like this. It's going to be huge.
What's your takeaway final score looking at on Friday night?
Wow. That's a good. Smoky Mountain has been able to, with the exception of the TC Robertson game, been able to amass a few points. I won't say weaker teams because Cherokee played them well. I think that this could be fairly close. And I don't know. I think the inertia coming out of that West Henderson game, this one I'm gonna have to go with the Murphy Bulldogs on this one, and just making sure that they, that I think they're going to have things dialed in. It's not a long road trip like it was last week. So let me get right to the point and quit hedging around this one. I think it's going to be 28-24.
28-24 in favor of
Murphy.
Murphy gets a win on homecoming in Silva. I do think this is going to be a close football game. The computer says it's a pick 'em. I think Smoky Mountain's favored by 1 point. just simply because they're at home. I have no clue how this game's going to play out because I have no clue what Murphy football team is going to show up. Is it the one that showed up in the very first half, the first part of the first half against West Henderson, where they jumped out, looked like they were going to go up, 22-0, and then all of a sudden it's 15-14 heading into halftime because of a turnover and a quick score that you gave up at the buzzer. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of Murphy. I know they have the athletes. I just don't. I don't know. They're an enigma to me right now. So I'm going to say, because of the firepower from Smoky Mountain and because of the athletes that Murphy has, it's going to be another high-scoring game. Maybe 35-31, something like that. I do think Murphy comes away with a victory, but I would not be surprised if they come back empty-handed leaving Smoky Mountain Friday night.
Defense has got to be the key. The defenders, probably a 43 defense from Smoky Mountain. The big guys in the line. They will try to move Murphy around. I think it's what you said here. Will the right Murphy team show up, and will those guys in the trenches play well? And that's one of the biggest keys. I think everybody has the tools. You've got the Brady Grants, to the Cameron Clems, to the Cadence Leatherwoods, to the Will Shores and Ryan Paynes. And it's similar. We can name the same players on Smoky Mountain side. The big key is this one's probably going to be in the trenches. And that's where the theme of what I was writing about this week is. It comes down to some smash mouth football. You go in there and bust some people in the mouth. And I think Landon Late told it to me quite well. It's like, we got to go in and just knock some people around and get our way. That's going to be one of the keys here. It's you don't see that, and it's not as sexy as the big passes or the big run plays. But guys in the trenches being able to knock the tar out of you, snot bubble you, that's going to be key. And that goes back to what this whole game was a long time ago between Murphy and Silver Webster, Murphy and Smoky Mountain. It's just been good old mountain smash mouth football.
Yes, it is, and that's Smoky Mountain Conference football in a nutshell.
Right.
So some good games coming up this week. We will be back next week, same time, same place. Brandon, any other thoughts?
No, just enjoy some football. It might be a little wet, but hey, those are some of the sacrifices as fans and spectators and media people. Oh! By the way, probably while we're airing this, we're also streaming another good game. Want to say good luck to both the Robbinsville Black Knights and the Murphy Bulldogs in JV play.
Yep, flip on over to FYNTV.com or go on our Facebook page. You'll see that game being live right now. Brandon, thanks as always, and we'll be back next week.